Hello, this will begin my part 3 on discussing stimulus control, chapter 17. Just to review a little bit, the last slide of part 2 was this one, how we develop stimulus control. And it's through differential reinforcement. Some responses are reinforced in the presence of the SD and not reinforced in the presence of the S delta. And so keep in mind any stimulus or object can function both as an SD as well as an S delta. A simple example is the letter A, right? The letter A. It's an SD for saying A. It's an S delta for saying Z. All right. And as I said before, the stimuli signal the presence of reinforcement or the presence of extinction, which is which? The SD signals reinforcement and the S delta signals extinction, of course. So concept formation, it depends upon discrimination and generalization. What concept? Let's take the concept of vegetables, all right? So all vegetables have something in common, okay? As the third bullet says, it could be a class of stimuli with a common relationship like redness, right? Or it could be a size thing, or it could be nutritional makeup, right? But as you understand concepts, they're all the stimuli within the concept, the stimulus class, have some commonality to them. Dogs all have legs, a tail, bark, that sort of thing. You understand that. But make sure you understand, and I think you do, that concepts are established through differential reinforcement and generalization. So we use differential reinforcement to reinforce the responses of selecting stimuli that fit the concept, and we don't reinforce items that don't fit the concept, right? So with young kids, you might start with very specific dogs, like the family dog makes up the whole concept of dog. So if we say, what's Fido? The little child says dog, we reinforce. The child says cat, we don't reinforce. So discrimination, stimulus discrimination is utilized, differential reinforcement is utilized to establish the early members of the concept, the class. However, then as then stimulus generalization kicks in, and which it needs to, right? We just can't individually teach each member of the concept, right? So we do require generalization of those stimuli. So the learner eventually will be able to make the same response to a variety of stimuli. And keep that in mind, right? When the same response occurs in the presence of multiple stimuli, and that's stimulus generalization, all right? So here's a little quiz. It's a simple one. When the clock alarm goes off, the person is supposed to rise, but he doesn't. So the mother has recently been coming in when the alarm goes off and tells her son to get up now. So the mother's behavior is acting as a what? Prompt, time delay, least to most, or masking. And the answer is prompt. It's a prompt. It's an additional stimulus that's put in place prior to the opportunity to respond that will hopefully increase the likelihood of the response occurring. Use prompts all the time, right? Stimulus classes. So again, stimuli in a class may be related due to physical form or are related to spatial arrangements like in, on, under, by. And we teach that, right? We teach the concept of prepositional concepts, right? Behind, in front of, you know. And so no matter what stimuli we use, it's the spatial SD, right? It's the spatial SD that controls the responding, right? And then the last one, there's some commonality across those stimuli. Men, boys, cowboys, gents, you know, what is the common stimulus? What are the characteristics of those stimuli? Well, it's some sort of maleness sort of thing. Factors affecting the development of a concept. Obviously, reinforcement's key. If we don't have powerful reinforcers, then the concept, the discrimination training, the differential reinforcement will not occur. And there must be some sort of attending or level of attending, right? Because the learner has to pay attention to subtle variations in stimuli. Now note these factual statements, all these based on research. Placing learners with poor attending in very easy learning tasks does not increase appropriate pre-attending. So in some, if you have someone who doesn't pay attention well to, say, concept formation training, going to easier discriminations will not increase attending. So attending is poor. It's a separate skill altogether. It's not a function of the difficulty of the task that the student is asked to attend to. Second bullet, placing learners in a more difficult learning task tends to increase inappropriate pre-attending. All right, so more difficult task increases inappropriate attending, but returning to an easier task does not reduce inappropriate responses. So again, poor attending is really not improved by manipulating the task, making a task easier, or going from a more difficult to an easier task, okay? And increasing the amount of consequences that follow correct responses does not reduce inappropriate pre-attending or increase appropriate responses. And using training programs that are errorless also does not alter inappropriate pre-attending responses. So this section in Chapter 17 gets at that really crucial, what would you call it, what did the Kegels call it, pivotal responses. Can we call attending a pivotal response? Well, I think we can in some ways, in that without attending, kids, for example, can't learn the concepts, right? I think I'll stop here and we'll pick up on part 4.